Hi, everybody. Gene here. Welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, where every single week we answer the most common and uncommon questions about tapping and EFT so you can get the most out of your tapping practice. Today, we're specifically tapping on something that shows up so much when people are getting in their own way. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you, if you go to tappingpodcast.com, that is where the entire show archive lives. We have over 450 episodes between full episodes and bonus episodes. And right now I've been re-recording and re-editing some of the old content to clean it up to make it easier for you to consume. If there is a topic, if there is something that you need help tapping on, you're going to find it there in our archive. We've interviewed some of the best people in the world around tapping and change and transformation. If you don't see something in there that you do want us to cover, let me know. I can always be reached, Gene, Gene, at tappingqna.com. But I just wanted to make sure you knew the archive was there before we jumped into today's show. This is Gene Montrastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 398, originally aired October 23rd, 2019. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we're going to talk about when we are not taking action, some things that we can tap on before we even tap on the issue. And this particular conversation and the tool that we're going to talk about today came specifically out of a client call that I had a few weeks ago. I had a client who was really stuck, and we'll get into that in a moment. If you are in a situation where you would like to not just get these podcasts and the amazing free resources we have on the website, but would like to work with me one-on-one. I've actually had a number of clients I've worked with over the course of the last number of months who we've accomplished what they've wanted to accomplish, and they've graduated from working with me, which means I actually have some space in my schedule right now. So if you're thinking about working one-on-one with a practitioner, I would love to have a conversation with you to see if there's something I can do to be helpful. Drop me a note, Gene, Gene, at tappingqna.com, or just click on the contact link on the website. We can have a conversation to see if this is something that I can do to help you as well. One last thing before we actually jump into talking about this today is I just want to send a big shout out and thank you to all of the supporters of the Tapping Q&A podcast. It's because of those people supporting the show that you continue to get these resources every single week free. In addition, the scripts that we have been adding, the transcripts we're starting to add, is because of that. Everyone who is a supporter gets amazing bonuses. If you would like to be one of those supporters as well, all you need to do is go to tappingqna.com/support. That's tappingqna.com/support. And you'll get all the information on how you can get those amazing bonuses. I would also like to thank, because we've been thanking people from all over the world who've been listening to the show. In the last couple of weeks, we've actually added a few new countries. I'd like to thank the folks on Christmas Island, in the Côte d'Ivoire, that's the Ivory Coast, the Isle of Man, and Moldova. Those are all countries who have been added listening to the show. Wherever you are in the world right now, I just really appreciate the fact that I am currently sitting in a little bitty phone booth in my co-working space, so I get some noise reduction, and the fact that wherever you are in the world, you're getting a chance to spend some time with me. I appreciate you taking that time. The conversation that I had with my client is he was talking about the emotion he was feeling around not trusting something would work out. That there were some things that were happening, some things that were changing, and even taking thoughtful action, he was worried they weren't going to work out. And the reality is, even when we do everything right and we do everything in an organized way, that doesn't always work out. That is true. But if that fear of not working out gets in our way, then we don't take action. Because on a subconscious level, we don't want to take the action that is going to be a waste of time or energy. And so as a way of keeping ourselves safe, and I'm going to put ourselves safe in quotes there, or in inverted commas, as my friends on the other side of the ocean would say, is it's keeping us safe because it doesn't want to waste time and energy. But the reality is, and we know this, that if we are taking action, we are learning and we're moving forward. So intellectually, we recognize that even if we're not working in a perfect way, it's going to move us closer to our goal because we're learning with every action that we take. Subconsciously and emotionally, we don't realize that. We just don't want to waste time and energy. And so this is just classic fear stuff. This is just fear trying to keep us safe. Remember, every single time that we feel fear, it is a part of our system trying to keep us safe. And that's a good thing. And you hear me talk about this a lot because when it comes to taking action, fear is the emotion that gets in the way the most. And we always hear fear first, because if there's danger out there, fear is going to get in the way. And so it's important that we're thinking about what is holding us back in terms of this fear, and not in eliminating fear, but making sure that it is proportionate and well-informed. It is good that I have fear. It keeps me safe. It is bad that I'm feeling so much fear that I'm not taking action that intellectually I know is safe, even if it doesn't work out. And so when you are in a situation that you are not taking the action that you want, here are 3 really simple things to tap through before you even address the issue at hand and the action you want to take. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk my way through all 3 of these. And if I was working with a client right now and we were dealing with fear in some particular way, basically the instruction and the explanation that I'm giving you right now, I would be having a client tap along with me as we are explaining all of this, because we get the opportunity of using the words of the description and the information to give us insight, and then we're getting the added bonus of tapping. Oftentimes, people, when they are working with clients, is they will ask a client a whole bunch of questions to get information, then they'll start tapping. And the reality is as we are asking questions and as we are giving our clients information, we can be tapping at the exact same time. It's not gather information and tap, but we can do it all together. So you can listen to this, and I want you to understand the concepts that I'm going to share here, 3 easy ways and things that you can tap on. And if you want to tap along while I'm talking about it, basically what I want you to do is, as we're doing this explanation, just move from tapping point to tapping point as we're talking through it. Because if you were my client and we were having this conversation, I would be having you tap along with this to clear it. So the 3 things that I tap on before we actually dive into the issue and we're not taking action is, number 1, how fear works. And I talked about this a little bit just a moment ago. But the things that are important to keep in mind when we're thinking about how fear works is fear reduces when we tap on talking about what is going on. So how fear works. First, it is trying to keep us safe. So I recognize the fact that this fear is trying to keep me safe. I recognize the fact that this fear is doing the best that it can. And I also recognize the fact that fear has a tendency to overfunction. Because it wants me to be safe, it is going to see any possible thing going wrong and pay extra attention to that. Also, our sense of fear is really bad at remembering when things go well, and it only remembers things that go wrong. This is the reason why oftentimes we can have an initial sensitizing event. We can have something that happened to us once that then creates a lifelong fear. And I sound like a broken record. You've heard me use this example before, but it's really pretty straightforward. Let's pretend I'm a young child. I'm camping with my family. One of my siblings throws a rubber snake into my sleeping bag, and now I'm afraid of snakes. Now, most of my life, I have no interaction with snakes at all, but because of this one event, the part that's trying to keep me safe remembers that, and it overfunctions and it gives that too much power. The other thing that our emotions are really bad at is they're really bad at probability. Our emotions work in an all or nothing sort of way. If there is a 10% chance that something can go wrong, my intellectual self goes, okay, 9 out of 10 times this is going to work out, so therefore it's worth me trying. Emotionally, it says, well, there is a chance that it could go wrong, so therefore we're not going to do it. So again, we see the way that fear is functioning is it's functioning in an over-functioning way, which is making it difficult for us to take action. The other thing that fear does when it doesn't understand probability is it also thinks multiple outcomes could happen simultaneously, and it worries about both of them. So I was working with a client, as an example, who is starting a podcast, and they're not taking the action they want. And what the podcaster said was, what if nobody listens? Pause. What if people listen? Now, there are two really specific fears there. The first fear is, I'm going to put a bunch of time and effort into this and no one's going to care, and that is bad. The second is, I'm going to put a bunch of time and effort and put myself out there, and people are going to listen to it and they're going to judge me because they're listening. Now, obviously, both of those things can't happen because either people are listening or they're not. But we respond as if both of those things are going to happen. And so by taking some time and taking a moment where before we think about the action we're taking, we just go through all of those things I just said and tapped on it. I remember fear is trying to keep me safe. It's doing the best that it can. It is over-functioning. It is only remembering the bad and not remembering the good. It is an all or nothing proposition. And I recognize, even though it might go wrong, it won't all go wrong. I also recognize the fact that my fear is worrying about all of these outcomes, even though it's impossible for all of the outcomes to happen. So oftentimes, if we just go through those things and those ideas, it clears and it creates enough space for us to be easier to take action. So that's the first of the three things that I tap on before we dive into the actual thing itself. The second thing that I tap on is this idea that there are lots of positive outcomes that aren't perfect. Again, emotions work from this place and this disposition of being all or nothing. It's successful or it's not. I win or I lose. It was a good investment of my time or a bad investment of my time. And life does not work like that. Now, there are certain outcomes that are truly all or nothing, but most of the outcomes in our life aren't all or nothing propositions. And so I spend a little time tapping on the fact that this doesn't have to be perfect. I can make mistakes. I can have fears. I can have worries. I can act in a way that isn't 100% confident in everything that I'm doing and still have success. Success and perfection are not synonyms. Success is about getting an outcome that gets me what I want. And many times I get what I want without getting things perfect. And so by taking a few moments and tapping on this idea of success is success, it's not perfection, and I can let go of this need for perfection, will again take the edge off of the fear and take the edge off of our emotions, so it becomes easier for us to move forward and take action because we're no longer demanding on an emotional level perfection. The third idea that we tap on before we tap on the issue is the emotions I feel about the situation and not the actual situation itself. So in this case with my client, he was worried that things were not going to work out. Because of that, he wasn't taking action. And now all of a sudden, he's judging himself for not taking action. He's judging himself and the universe for not trusting himself and not trusting the universe. And he's judging himself because he knows better that things don't have to be perfect in order for him to be successful, and he can step out and take action anyway. And so by tapping on the emotion about the issue, what we're doing is we're giving ourselves space to see what is going on more clearly, because our emotions about the issue it's a veil, it's a filter, it's colored glass that we're looking through that is making it harder for us to see the actual issue at hand, which makes it difficult for us to tap on it. So by tapping on the emotions about the issue, we're creating space. So you can see in these three steps the way that we're unpacking the edges of the issue. The first thing that we do is, again, we tap on how fear works. And for me, even though I know this, I talk about this all the time with my clients, when I am tapping for myself, it's not like I know how fear works. I actually go through and say out loud everything I was just talking about, because then what happens is the fear reduces to some degree, maybe a little, maybe a lot, but any progress is good. The fear reduces to some degree. So now all of a sudden it's easier for me to take action because I'm not crippled by that fear that is always going to win when it comes to taking action. The second step, recognizing that perfection isn't necessary for us to have success, again is going to reduce that fear because I'm giving myself permission to recognize this doesn't have to be all or nothing. And, it's a cliche. Perfection is the enemy of good because oftentimes if we're trying to be too perfect, we don't actually get what we need and we want because we're not taking action in response to that. And so giving ourselves some space to recognize that, again, reduces the fear, makes it easier for us to take action. The third thing is by tapping on the emotion about the situation instead of the situation itself, all of those pieces of self-judgment that are showing up around not taking action, not seeing it clearly, making a mistake again, not getting out of my own way, by clearing all of that, again, it makes it easier for me to take action. And many times when I go through these steps, this is how fear works, taps on it. Success doesn't require perfection, tap on it. These are the emotions I feel about the situation. Sometimes before I get through number 1, I'm ready to take action. Sometimes before I get through 1 and 2, I'm ready to take action. Sometimes once I finish number 3, I'm ready to take action. And I never have to tap on the issue itself. But if I'm in a situation after tapping through those 3 things, I'm not ready to take action, I have cleared so much space and so much periphery emotion around it. I now see exactly what I am afraid of, which now makes it so much easier to tap on that root cause and clear it out, which leads to action. Now, at this point, the explanation that I've given you is, 10 or 12 minutes long. If you tapped on those 3 things, you could actually tap on those 3 things in 3 minutes at the most. You could do 1 minute of tapping on how fear works, 1 minute of tapping on success does not require perfection, 1 minute of tapping on the emotions you feel about the situation, and then you're ready to go. So this is a simple, easy thing for you to do, but you need to do it in a deliberate, conscious way. And so you might, and I would encourage you to do this wherever you tap. If you don't have a tapping journal, you should have a tapping journal, just as a way to kind of track what's going on and take notes while you're tapping it. For me, it makes it easier for me to continue to have progress and to see what is going on. But if you just wrote, tap on how fear works. Number 2, tap on success does not require perfection. Number 3, tap on the emotion about the issue and just have that as a little reminder and take 90 seconds to 3 minutes to tap on that before you tap on the reason why you're not taking action. It's going to make your tapping so much easier and so much more successful. Please give this a try. Please let me know how it works for you. I would love to hear how this process impacts you and your feedback because I'm always trying to get better in the way that I tap. I learn so much when I'm tapping with my clients because I say, hey, let's try this. And they give me feedback so we can tweak along the way. And that impacts all of the work that I do with my clients. So let me know. You can always reach me, Gene, Gene, at tappingqanda.com. If you're on the website, click on the contact link. If you are in the Tapping Q&A app right now, if you click on contact, you're going to see a place where you can send me an email or a voice memo from right inside of that app. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, you should do that. It's absolutely free. The entire Tapping Q&A archive audio is on there. And for the episodes in which we do specific tapping scripts, you can find out a written out version of the script in the app as well. So you don't even have to hit play. You can just start tapping once you have a subject that you want to tap on. If you know someone in your life who would find this approach useful, please be my ambassador. Pass it along. Don't spam your inbox. But if there are 2 or 3 people who could use this, send it along. The most common way people find a new piece of media, be it a video, an audio, a blog post, a PDF, or whatever it is out there in the world, the way that they find that is through recommendations from a friend. So please pass it along. It would mean the world to me. As you know, we're trying to get 9 new people as a community tapping every single day. If we do that, we're going to add 3,000 tappers this calendar year, which is going to make a huge difference because when the people around us are healthier, they make better choices, which makes it easier for us to make better choices. And that healing and that transformation just ripples out in some really super powerful ways. If you have a question or a comment, feedback on this particular process, please let me know. Also, let me know a topic you'd like us to cover. Some of the best episodes that we've done have been from recommendations from people like you. I have a couple coming up in the next 2 weeks, which were recommendations from readers, which I never would have thought of, but because they were recommended, we're going to create something really cool and something really powerful. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe in podcasting parlance is free. You don't have to pay for it. You can find the show anywhere that you find audio online. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, Deezer, Radio.com, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Luminary, Himalaya, Overcast. Basically, if you can find audio, you can find this. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli, Tapping Q&A 2016. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli or Tapping Q&A.